So on to the next topic, which came about earlier this week. It got swiftly rejected, but it's always worth having a bit of a discussion to hear your thoughts on it. Project Big Picture. So apparently United and Liverpool met in secret.
Whoa. Why put my club first? Like it wasn't your club that came to my club with the proposals.
However, like it was the two teams. They came together to sort of bring a new proposal as to how we can move forward with Premier League with the aim of, you know how I mentioned how they want to have a parachute payment or some sort of payment to the EFL. I did say there'd be some terms, and this is what United and Liverpool are trying to push, terms and conditions. And I'll read off the proposals they had. So it was Premier League reduced to 18 clubs, no EFL Cup or Community Shield, special status for the 9 longest serving clubs, Big Six plus Everton, West Ham and Southampton. Only 6 of the 9 longest serving clubs need to vote for a major change. 250 million immediate compensation for the EFL. Figure also represents coronavirus financial bailout. Clubs who finish 16th in the Premier League to replace 6th place Championship club in the EFL playoffs. Premier League to commit to 25% of future revenue to the EFL. So I mean, it's an interesting proposal. I think one of the major sticking points from a club's point of view and a fairness point of view and a competitive point of view is straight away that would hand all the power to the Big Six in the sense of they have the most voting power. Like if the top 6 agree on a way to hurt the smaller clubs or help them, they can vote anything into power, which I think is probably the main reason why it got battered down. But in addition to that, the special status for the 9 longest serving clubs is a bit like, again, it's just a power grab.
Yeah,
And
they're just trying to make it. They're indirectly trying to say, and obviously as we've seen with only 6 of the 9 clubs need to vote something in favour for it to be put forward or for it to be actioned. They're indirectly trying to say we want the power, as you said.
Yeah. I mean, from a monetary point of view, some of it makes sense. I mean, committing future revenue, bailing out 250 million, yeah, that's all good. And I really like the 16th place club. So essentially 3rd relegation, then going into the playoffs. Yes, it's unfair that teams in the playoffs, let's say you sneak into the playoffs and you're good enough at that level to beat a team, you might come up against a Premier League team who've got a lot of better players and lose. But then it's a tough one because if you're not good enough to beat a Premier League team who's at the bottom of the pile, you're going to have to spend a hell of a lot of money even when you go up, even with all the money that you get to stay up anyway. So it's a really tough one, but they do it in a lot of European leagues and it seems to work quite well because if you are good enough to beat the team, then you've got a solid foundation to build from there. But if you're not, keep working on it. You got so close, but it's going to either fuel you or you fall off. But apart from that, Community Shield, I mean, no one will complain if that goes. EFL Cup, like, again, no one will really complain.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing as well is obviously getting rid of the EFL Cup, and 2 other points in the thing that I don't think you mentioned were that the Premier League will start later in August, and also clubs will have, basically they'll have the rights to show up to 8 fixtures through their own channels. And so all of this is to kind of obviously, again, power grab and get more money, right? Because the Premier League aren't just going to give away 250 million for free, right? They want something in return, and this is their return, if you like, for the big clubs at least. So with the Premier League starting later in August, that opens up more space for more kind of, you know how our clubs will go on these crazy tours to like Malaysia or wherever. Obviously extremely lucrative, right, for the clubs. Obviously no EFL Cup will also free up fixtures. There's always separately been talks about a breakaway like Champions League or whatever the case may be. So talks about that might start coming back up again. And then also with regards to showing the 8 games a season, obviously at the moment, as we know, Premier League matches, the rights to broadcast are solely distributed by the Premier League, right? And that is what kind of keeps the small clubs fighting with the big clubs. And that's how they end up getting so much money from the Premier League indirectly through Sky and BT, right? Because it's sold as a package. And the Premier League can go away to international jurisdictions and say, we're going to say the rights of the Premier League. Okay, you might see a Burnley Sheffield United match, but you're going to get a United Chelsea, you're going to get a Liverpool whoever. Do you get what I mean? Because people will watch Man United Liverpool against any club, wouldn't really care about Sheffield Burnley, for example. Obviously, if our clubs were now allowed to go and take 8 games and distribute them throughout their own channels, there could be a problem for the smaller clubs in that regards, because if that ends up being so well, obviously, as we've said, 6 clubs will only be needed to put through any changes to any kind of structure in the Premier League. Those 6 clubs will turn around and say, well, this has gone fantastically well for us. We're now going to vote in favour of this actually being the case for all Premier League games now. They distribute all their matches throughout their own channel. The Crystal Palaces, maybe even West Ham's, all those players are going to rely heavily on basically their sole fan base to be purchasing their games through their channel, whereas United's, Liverpool's, Chelsea's, Arsenal's, Man City's will have fans all across the globe that will be purchasing the wherever, however they distribute it, whatever case it may be, MUTV, Liverpool FC TV, whatever. They'll have fans all across the globe that will be paying for those things. And then you'll just see, in terms of money coming in through broadcasting, the top six clubs are just gonna go clear.
Yeah, and it all boils down to the old saying that the rich always want to stay rich. Like it makes sense why they try and use it as a bargaining chip and an opportunity. It's a bit smelly, and it should be competitively fair. Like, as you see in the NFL and the NBA, where there's a draft system where the worst team is given the opportunity to, in theory, get the best player out of the new crop of talent. That the setup isn't quite the same in the Premier League, but by having the TV money equally spread out, that helps to mitigate some of that. So I'm kind of glad it's been rejected, even though I'm a Liverpool fan. And
no, agreed.
Liverpool having more power would be great, but you want it to be competitive. It's what you enjoy. It's the fact that, okay, anything can happen, but we're still the best here. Like, I enjoy it more.
Chill. But it's funny because obviously two clubs with the American owners are the ones coming with this proposal. Well, why are you looking at me like that?
Felt like it.
But yeah, no, as you said, I'm glad it's been rejected. But yeah, I think these guys need to chill, man. You can't just start trying to switch things up, and obviously kind of using coronavirus, I guess, as the kind of bait for people to want to get involved. But as with all these things, though, right? Usually, you put all your cards on the table. You're not expecting to get everything that you've asked for in a bargaining situation.
You might get some of them.
Yeah, something. Yeah, we'll see. Something will happen because obviously they're not going to turn up. They're not just going to outright turn down 250 mil to the EFL, are they? Or the FA is not going to turn down 100 mil, are they? So we'll see. We'll see where they land.